The massive alien ship moved through space like a crystal mountain floating among the stars. Admiral Zixathera stood in the center of the bridge, her tall, translucent body catching the light from dozens of control panels. Around her, 12 different alien species worked together, each bringing their own special skills to the mission. The insect-like cricks clicked and buzzed as they shared thoughts through their hive mind. Their 6 arms moved quickly over sensors that could detect the smallest movements across entire star systems. The Nethams, beings made of living gas, floated near the shield's controls. Their bodies glowed soft blue as they kept the massive fleet hidden from any watching eyes. The robotic Malteks stood perfectly still at their weapon stations, their metal bodies ready to fire with deadly accuracy at any target. All of these species belonged to the Galactic Confederation, a group of advanced civilizations that had been exploring space for thousands of years. They had strict rules about how to deal with primitive species that were just learning to travel between stars. The rules were simple: watch, study, and only make contact when the young species was ready. Today they were watching a small blue planet on the edge of known space. The planet was called Terra 3 in their records, though the creatures living there called it Earth. The beings on this world called themselves humans, and they had only recently learned how to build ships that could travel between stars. Admiral Zixathera looked at the reports flowing across her screen. Strange energy readings were coming from human space. Large amounts of power were building up across multiple star systems where humans lived. The readings looked like the kind of chaos that happened when a primitive species had accidents with their new technology. "Commander Threx," she called to her military advisor. The Gorvani warrior was built like a walking tank, with thick armor covering his entire body. His people had fought in wars across the galaxy for centuries, and he knew battle better than anyone. "Yes, Admiral," Threx said in his deep voice. "What do you think is happening in human space? Are they having some kind of disaster?" Threx studied the data for a moment. His people were used to seeing young species make mistakes when they first got powerful technology. "It looks like civil unrest or maybe accidents with their power systems. These humans appear to be very disorganized," the Admiral nodded. This was what they expected from such a young species. Humans had only been traveling between stars for a few decades. They were like children playing with tools they did not understand. "Take us closer," she ordered, "but maintain our stealth fields. I want to observe them without being detected." The fleet moved deeper into the asteroid belt between the 4th and 5th planets of the human solar system. Their advanced technology made them completely invisible to any sensors that humans might have. At least that was what the aliens believed. As they got closer, the energy readings from human space became even stranger. Ships were moving in patterns that made no sense. Instead of staying in organized formations like proper military forces, human vessels seemed scattered across dozens of star systems. Some groups had only a few ships, while others had hundreds moving in what looked like random directions. "These humans are very chaotic," reported Science Officer Velnum, a floating creature with tentacles instead of arms. "Their ship movements follow no logical pattern. They appear to be in a state of panic." Admiral Zixathera felt a mixture of curiosity and concern. The Confederation had rules about helping primitive species, but they also had rules about preventing them from destroying themselves. If humans were having some kind of breakdown, it might be necessary to step in. Continue monitoring, she decided. If they are in real danger, we may need to reveal ourselves to help them. What the aliens did not know was that every move they made was being watched. Deep in a hidden base on Earth's moon, Admiral Sarah Chen sat in a command center filled with screens showing the positions of every alien ship. Human technology might have looked primitive to alien eyes, but it included some very advanced detection systems that the aliens had never seen before. Chen had been waiting for this moment her entire career. She was Earth's top military commander, and she had spent years preparing for the day when humans would meet other intelligent life. The preparations had been secret, known only to the highest levels of government and military. "Ma'am?" called out Lieutenant Rodriguez from his station. "All fleet groups are in position. The aliens still think they're invisible?" Chen smiled grimly. "Good. Let them keep thinking that. How long until they're all where we want them?" 6 hours, ma'am. They're following the patrol patterns exactly as we predicted. The truth was that humans had been tracking alien activity for months. The first probe had been detected long before it reached Earth's solar system. Since then, human scientists and engineers had been working around the clock to understand alien technology and prepare for this meeting. The scattered ship movements that looked so chaotic to alien observers were actually the most complex military formation ever created by human minds. Every ship was exactly where it needed to be for a plan that had taken years to develop. Back on the alien flagship, Admiral Zixathara received more reports about human activities. The readings showed that humans were using very basic technology compared to what the Confederation possessed. Their ships were built like flying fortresses, thick and heavy instead of the elegant designs that advanced species preferred. Their weapons seemed to rely on simple kinetic energy and chemical explosives rather than sophisticated energy manipulation. "Admiral," Commander Threx said, "I recommend we prepare a standard first contact protocol. These humans appear to be having some kind of crisis. A show of our superior technology should convince them to accept our guidance peacefully." The Admiral considered this. It was the standard approach when dealing with primitive species. Show them advanced technology, prove that resistance was useless, and then guide them toward proper civilization. It had worked with dozens of other young species over the centuries. "Very well," she decided. "Prepare the fleet for revelation. We will decloak simultaneously across all human territories. That should get their attention." Around the bridge, alien officers began preparing for first contact. They powered up communication systems to broadcast surrender demands in the human language. They charged their non-lethal weapons, designed to disable primitive ships without destroying them. They readied their most impressive displays of technology to show these humans just how outmatched they were. What they still did not understand was that the humans were ready for them. Every alien ship had been tracked, every weapon system analyzed, every tactical doctrine studied through captured probe data. Humanity's greatest military minds had spent months developing strategies specifically designed to fight the Galactic Confederation. As the alien fleet prepared to reveal itself, Admiral Chen received the final reports from her scouts. All alien vessels were now positioned exactly where human battle plans required them to be. The trap was set. "Send the signal to all fleet commanders," Chen ordered. "Operation Trojan Horse is now active. Remind all ships we are not just fighting for Earth anymore. We are fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy." Across human space, thousands of ships received the message. Crews that had been waiting in tense silence suddenly came alive with purpose. Weapon systems that had been powered down began coming online. Ships that had seemed helplessly scattered began moving with deadly precision toward predetermined positions. The aliens thought they were about to make contact with a primitive, chaotic species that would surrender immediately when faced with superior technology. Instead, they were about to encounter something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that had learned to fight by watching them, had prepared for this exact moment, and was eager to show their new neighbors that humanity did not surrender easily. The stage was set for a meeting that would change the balance of power among the stars forever. Commander Threx stood over the analysis tables in the war room of the alien flagship. Dozens of screens showed detailed scans of human ships, weapons, and technology. He had been studying warfare for over 300 years, and he had never seen anything quite like what humans were doing. The data made him shake his massive head in confusion. Human ships were built like metal boxes with thick armor plating covering every surface. They had multiple backup systems for everything, which seemed wasteful and inefficient. Most advanced species built elegant ships that used energy more efficiently, but humans seemed to prefer brute force over clever design. Science Officer Velnim, Threx called to the floating alien nearby. "Show me the weapon analysis again." Velnim's tentacles danced over the controls, bringing up detailed scans of human weapons. Their primary armaments appear to be kinetic projectiles accelerated through magnetic fields. They also use chemical explosives and guided missiles, very primitive compared to our energy manipulation systems. Threx frowned. Kinetic weapons were what young species used before they learned to control energy properly. They were crude, wasteful, and limited in their applications. Any species with proper energy shields should be able to stop them easily. "What about their defensive systems?" he asked. "They use layered armor plating and some kind of energy dissipation grid," reported another technician. "No advanced energy shields that we can detect. They seem to rely on absorbing damage rather than deflecting it." This was even more confusing. Advanced species learned long ago that it was better to prevent damage than to absorb it. Human ships looked like they were designed to take punishment and keep fighting. which seemed like poor planning. The psychological profiles were even stranger. Dr. Zextry, the Confederation's expert on primitive species behavior, had been studying intercepted human communications for days. Her findings made no sense to anyone on the command staff. Admiral, Dr. Zextry reported to Zixathara, human behavior patterns are highly unusual. They display what appears to be anticipation of conflict rather than fear. Their communications contain references to concepts like honor in battle and fighting to the last breath that suggest they may actually enjoy warfare. Admiral Zixathara looked puzzled. Enjoy warfare? That makes no evolutionary sense. Species that enjoy conflict typically destroy themselves before achieving space travel. That is what makes this so strange, the doctor continued. They seem to have a cultural obsession with warfare, yet they have somehow managed to achieve interstellar travel and maintain civilization. Their history is filled with constant conflicts, but instead of weakening them, these conflicts appear to have made them stronger. Commander Threx studied the data more carefully. Human military history showed thousands of years of almost constant warfare between different groups of their own species. They had developed weapons and tactics through endless practice against each other. This was very different from most civilized species, which had learned to solve problems peacefully long before reaching the stars. Look at this, Threx said, pointing to intercepted human communications. Before each battle, they perform rituals. They sing songs, tell stories, and engage in behaviors that serve no tactical purpose. Some of them actually seem excited about the possibility of fighting. The alien officers exchanged concerned looks. This was not how intelligent species were supposed to behave. Fear was the appropriate response to superior force. Surrender was the logical choice when faced with overwhelming odds. But humans seemed to be preparing for battle as if it were some kind of celebration. Perhaps they are suffering from species-wide mental illness, suggested Dr. Zextry. Mass delusion could explain their irrational behavior. Admiral Zixathara considered this possibility. It would not be the first time the Confederation had encountered a species that had damaged itself through poor choices. Sometimes young civilizations developed in ways that left them unable to think clearly about their own survival. Continue monitoring, she decided. If they are mentally ill, we have an obligation to help them. If they are simply too primitive to understand their situation, a demonstration of our capabilities should convince them to surrender peacefully. What the aliens did not understand was that humans had been listening to their communications just as carefully as the aliens had been listening to human transmissions. Human intelligence officers had been working around the clock to translate alien languages and understand their psychology. In her command center, Admiral Chen reviewed the latest intelligence reports with her staff. The aliens clearly believed that humans were primitive and disorganized. They had completely misunderstood human military doctrine and technology. They think our ships are poorly designed, reported General Martinez, Earth's top military engineer. They do not understand that we built them to survive damage, not avoid it. They expect us to have energy shields like theirs, so our armor plating confuses them. Chen nodded. What about our weapons? They think kinetic weapons are primitive, Martinez continued. Their energy shields are designed to stop particle beams and plasma cannons. They have no idea how to deal with solid projectiles moving at high velocity. This was exactly what human strategists had hoped for. By studying captured alien probe data, they had learned that Confederation technology was very advanced but also very specialized. Each system was designed to counter other advanced systems, not the brutal simplicity of human engineering. Ma'am, called Intelligence Officer Park from her station, we have confirmed translations of their battle plans. They intend to decloak simultaneously across 7 of our star systems and demand immediate surrender. They believe a show of force will end any resistance, Chen smiled coldly. They still think this is going to be easy. How long until all their ships are in position? 4 hours, ma'am. They are moving exactly according to our projections. The truth was that human military doctrine had been shaped by thousands of years of fighting other humans. Every trick, every strategy, every possible tactic had been tested in real combat against opponents who were just as smart and just as determined. Humans had learned to expect the unexpected and plan for every possibility. The aliens had superior technology, but they had been fighting predictable opponents for so long that they had forgotten how to deal with chaos. Their tactics were elegant and efficient, perfected over millennia of conflicts with civilized species that followed logical patterns. But humans did not follow logical patterns. Human military thinking was based on controlled chaos, individual initiative, and the ability to adapt quickly when plans went wrong. These were concepts that the aliens had never encountered before. Back on the alien flagship, final preparations were being made for first contact. The Confederation fleet had positioned itself across human space in what they considered an overwhelming display of force. 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships were ready to reveal themselves simultaneously. "All ships report ready," announced Communications Officer Thelvan. "Surrender demands have been prepared in the human language. Non-lethal suppression systems are charged and ready." Admiral Zixathera felt confident that this would end quickly. The humans would see the superior technology arrayed against them and immediately recognize the futility of resistance. It was what always happened when primitive species met advanced civilizations. "Begin the revelation," she ordered. Across 7 star systems, Confederation ships began dropping their stealth fields. Massive alien vessels appeared as if from nowhere, their energy signatures reading far beyond anything in human arsenals. It was an impressive sight that should have terrified any species into immediate submission. What happened next was not what the aliens expected. Instead of panicked surrender transmissions, they received a single message from Admiral Chen. "Unknown vessels, you have entered sovereign human space without permission. You have 30 seconds to withdraw or we will consider this an act of war." On the alien flagship there was complete silence. Commander Threx stared at his screens in disbelief. Dr. Zextree checked her translation systems 3 times to make sure she had understood correctly. Admiral Zixathera felt something she had never experienced before. Genuine surprise. The humans were not surrendering. They were not even asking for negotiations. They were making demands of their own and threatening war against a force that could destroy their entire civilization. For the first time, the aliens began to wonder if they had seriously misunderstood what they were dealing with. The 30 seconds passed in complete silence. Admiral Zixathera stared at her chronometer, watching the final moments tick away. Around her, the bridge crew waited for orders. They had never encountered a situation like this before. When the deadline expired, Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system one more time. "Your time is up. Earth Defense Command considers your presence an act of war. You should have listened." Admiral Zixathera felt a cold sensation flow through her crystalline body. These humans were actually threatening to fight back against impossible odds. She had expected fear, pleading, or at worst some desperate attempt at negotiation. She had not expected a calm declaration of war. "Commander Threx," she said slowly, "proceed with suppression operations. Use non-lethal force only. Disable their nearest battle group to demonstrate our capabilities." Threx's massive fingers moved over his controls, targeting human vessels in the Alpha Centauri system. Engaging suppression fields. The alien weapons fired across space, sending waves of energy designed to overload human ship systems without destroying them. The beams should have shut down all power on the targeted vessels, leaving them helpless but unharmed. It was a merciful approach that the Confederation used to end conflicts quickly. But the human ships did not shut down. Instead, they scattered in what looked like panic, breaking apart from their formations and flying in different directions. Admiral Zixathera nodded in satisfaction. This was the expected response from a primitive species faced with superior technology. Then something strange happened. The scattered human ships began moving in patterns that made the alien computers confused. Instead of random panic, the movement seemed to follow some kind of complex mathematical formula. The ship spread out in 3 dimensions, creating a formation that made it difficult for alien targeting systems to lock onto any single vessel. "What are they doing?" Admiral Zixathera asked. Science Officer Velnim studied his displays. "Unknown, Admiral. Their movement pattern appears random, but our targeting computers are having difficulty maintaining locks. It is as if they know exactly how our systems work." Before anyone could answer, the human ships began shooting back. The first kinetic rounds arrived without warning, moving too fast for alien sensors to track properly. Tungsten rods accelerated to enormous speed slammed into the energy shields of Confederation vessels. The shields held, but barely. The alien crews felt their ships shake from impacts that should have been impossible. Energy shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid objects moving at significant fractions of light speed. "Impossible," Commander Threx muttered. How are they penetrating our defensive screens? More projectiles arrived, followed by missiles that seemed to dance around the alien point defense systems. The missiles moved in patterns that confused the automated defense guns, approaching from unexpected angles and using their own defensive systems to avoid being shot down. When the nuclear warheads exploded against alien hull plating, the Confederation ships shook like leaves in a storm. The aliens had energy shields, but they also had physical hulls underneath those shields. The kinetic weapons punched through the shields, and the nuclear explosions damaged the hulls directly. For the first time in over 1,000 years, Confederation ships were taking real damage in combat. Admiral, called Communications Officer Thelvan, I am intercepting human battle communications. You need to hear this. Admiral Zixathera listened in growing amazement to the voices of human ship captains. Instead of fear or desperation, she heard excitement and enthusiasm. The humans were enjoying themselves. Bravo 7, this is Alpha 3. Nice shot on that big crystalline ship. Thanks, Alpha 3. Did you see the way their shields flared? Just like the simulations predicted. All units, this is Admiral Chen. Remember your training. They have better technology, but we have better tactics. Keep them guessing. Roger that, Admiral. These aliens fight like they read it from a textbook. Very predictable. Admiral Zixathera felt her world turning upside down. The humans were not only fighting back effectively, they were treating it like a game they were winning. Even worse, they seemed to have prepared for this exact situation. Commander Threx, she said urgently. Analyze their tactical patterns. How are they coordinating so effectively? Threx worked frantically at his station. Admiral, I cannot determine their command structure. Each ship appears to be operating independently, yet their movements are perfectly coordinated. It should be impossible without a central command system. What the aliens did not understand was that human military doctrine was based on individual initiative within overall strategy. Each ship captain had been trained to make independent decisions that supported the larger battle plan. They did not need constant orders from headquarters because they understood the goals and could adapt to changing situations on their own. This was completely foreign to Confederation thinking. Most alien species either use centralized command systems or hive mind coordination. The idea that individuals could work together perfectly without constant communication was beyond their experience. The battle continued to develop in ways that confused the alien commanders. Human ships that took damage did not retreat or surrender. Instead, they adapted their tactics and continued fighting. Ships with damaged weapons switched to ramming attacks. Vessels with destroyed engines used their remaining systems to provide targeting data for other ships. Most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to be learning from every exchange. Tactics that worked against them once did not work a second time. They adapted to alien weapons faster than the aliens could adapt to theirs. Admiral, reported Science Officer Velnum, I am detecting massive energy signatures approaching from multiple directions. The humans appear to have reinforcements arriving. Admiral Zixathera looked at her strategic display in growing alarm. New human ships were emerging from jump points that the aliens had not even known existed. The scattered human fleet was revealing itself to be much larger and better organized than anyone had imagined. How many ships do they have? She asked. Unknown, Admiral. Our initial count appears to have been completely wrong. They have been hiding their true numbers somehow. Commander Threx studied the tactical situation with the eye of an experienced warrior. What he saw made his armored skin crawl with unease. Admiral, I believe we have made a serious error. These humans were not scattered randomly. They were positioned in a deliberate formation designed to trap us. What do you mean? Look at the positions of our ships and theirs. We moved to surround their scattered groups, but now their reinforcements are arriving behind us. We are the ones who are surrounded. Admiral Zixathera felt a chill of fear unlike anything she had ever experienced. The Confederation had the most advanced fleet in the galaxy, with weapons and technology that should have made them invincible against any primitive species. But somehow these humans had turned the situation around. All ships, she broadcast to her fleet, prepare for tactical withdrawal. We need to reassess the situation. But even retreat was not going to be simple. The human ships moved to block escape routes with the same precision they had used to spring their trap. Every time alien ships tried to disengage, human vessels appeared to harry them and force them back into the battle. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system again. Calm and confident. Confederation fleet, you came here expecting an easy victory over primitive opponents. You thought you could simply intimidate us into surrender. But you made a mistake. You assumed that older technology means weaker opponents. Admiral, Zixthera found herself listening despite the chaos of battle around her. You have been fighting civilized species for so long that you have forgotten what it means to face an enemy that refuses to quit. Admiral Chen continued. We humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know every trick, every strategy, every way to turn disadvantage into advantage. And now you are about to learn what that means. For the first time in her long career, Admiral Zixthera realized that her advanced, superior fleet might actually lose this battle. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. The battle spread across 7 star systems as more human ships joined the fight. Admiral Zixthera watched her tactical displays with growing horror as the true scope of human preparation became clear. What had started as a simple demonstration of superior force was turning into the most complex military engagement in Confederation history. Commander Threx stood at his battle station, his armored hands moving rapidly over controls as he tried to make sense of what was happening. Admiral, the human ships are changing their configurations. I have never seen anything like this. On the screens, human vessels that had appeared to be single large ships were breaking apart into smaller units. What the aliens had cataloged as inefficient design was actually modular architecture. Ships split into squadrons of fighters combined into larger battle platforms and reconfigured their weapon systems in real time based on what they were fighting. How is this possible? Admiral Zixthera demanded. Ships cannot simply change their basic structure during combat. Science Officer Velnim worked frantically at his analysis station. Admiral, I believe these are not individual ships as we understand them. They appear to be constructed from standardized modules that can be assembled into different configurations as needed. A human cruiser that had been damaged by alien energy weapons suddenly broke apart into 6 smaller vessels. Each piece immediately began attacking different alien ships from multiple directions. The concentrated firepower that should have destroyed a single target was now spread uselessly across empty space. Even more disturbing was how perfectly the human crews coordinated these transformations. There was no confusion, no delay, no period of vulnerability during the reconfiguration. The humans moved as if they had practiced these maneuvers thousands of times. Dr. Zextri, monitoring human communications from her psychology station, called out in amazement, Admiral, the human crews are improvising new tactics in real time. They are sharing information and adapting their strategies faster than our computers can analyze their patterns. The alien fleet's carefully planned formations began falling apart under assault from tactics that seemed to ignore military logic. Confederation doctrine was based on thousands of years of experience fighting predictable opponents. Each species had its strengths and weaknesses, but they all followed logical patterns that could be studied and countered. Humans did not follow logical patterns. They fought like a force of nature, unpredictable and chaotic, yet somehow achieving perfect coordination. Individual ship captains made split-second decisions that seamlessly integrated into an overall strategy that appeared to exist without any central command. The crystalline Veltar ships, with their precisely calculated energy matrices, found their weapons mysteriously ineffective. Human vessels somehow anticipated every attack and positioned themselves to minimize damage. When the energy beams did hit, the humans absorbed the punishment and kept fighting. The insectoid Crix discovered that their hive mind coordination was being systematically disrupted. Human electronic warfare specialists had somehow identified the specific frequencies their species used for collective communication and were jamming them with surgical precision. The robotic Maltex, proud of their perfect accuracy, found their targeting systems confused by human ships that moved in impossible patterns. Every time they locked onto a target, the humans changed direction or configuration in ways that broke the target lock. Admiral, Commander Threx reported, his voice tight with frustration, our standard tactical formations are completely ineffective. Every doctrine we have tried has been countered within minutes. It is as if they have studied our military procedures for years. Admiral Zixthera felt a terrible understanding beginning to form. Commander, how long have we been observing this system? 6 months, Admiral. Since we first detected their probe activity. And how long have they been observing us? Threx checked his records, then looked up with alarm in his eyes. Admiral, if they detected our initial scout probe, they could have been studying us for the same amount of time. The truth hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. The humans had not been surprised by first contact. They had been preparing for it. Every weapon system, every tactical doctrine, every standard Confederation procedure had been analyzed and countered. Humanity had not just prepared for war, they had prepared for war specifically against the Confederation. All ships, Admiral Zixathera broadcast to her scattered fleet, implement Emergency Protocol 7. Random tactical patterns, no standard formations. But even this desperate measure failed. Human ships adapted to the random patterns faster than the aliens could implement them. It was as if humanity possessed some impossible combination of individual creativity and collective coordination that the galaxy had never seen before. On the human flagship, Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Her tactical officers provided constant updates on alien ship movements and weapon patterns. Every piece of data was analyzed and shared with the fleet in real time. "Ma'am," reported Captain Williams, her tactical coordinator, "alien forces are attempting random engagement patterns. They appear to be abandoning their standard doctrines." "Too late," Chen replied. "We have been studying their people for months. We know how they think, how they fight, how they make decisions. Random tactics will not help them now." The human strategy was based on something the aliens had never encountered, a species that had evolved through constant warfare with itself. Every human military academy taught the history of countless conflicts between human nations, each side trying to outthink and outfight opponents who were just as intelligent and determined as they were. Humans had learned to expect their enemies to be clever, adaptable, and resourceful. They planned for opponents who would study their tactics and develop counters. They assumed that any strategy that worked once would be useless the second time. The Confederation had grown complacent fighting species that followed predictable patterns. They had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy that refused to be predictable. As the battle continued, human technological adaptability became even more apparent. Ships that had been damaged earlier in the fighting returned to combat with modifications that directly countered the weapons that had damaged them. Armor plating had been rearranged, shield generators reconfigured, and weapon systems modified. "Impossible," breathed Science Officer Velnum. "They are adapting their technology in real time. This should require years of research and development." What the aliens did not understand was that human engineering philosophy was based on modular design and field modification. Human ships were built to be repaired and upgraded under combat conditions. Every vessel carried fabrication equipment and spare parts that could be assembled into new configurations as needed. Human crews had trained for situations where their equipment would be damaged or inadequate. They expected to fight with improvised weapons, jury-rigged systems, and equipment that was never designed for its current application. Adaptation under pressure was not just possible for humans, it was standard procedure. The alien fleet found itself facing something unprecedented in galactic history, an enemy that became more dangerous as the fight continued. Every exchange taught the humans something new about alien technology. Every damaged ship returned to battle with improvements based on what they had learned. Commander Threx watched his tactical displays with the dawning realization that his forces were not just losing. They were being systematically outfought by a species they had considered primitive. "Admiral, I request permission to begin general retreat. Our casualties are mounting and the humans show no signs of weakening." Admiral Zixathera looked around her bridge at the faces of officers from 12 different species, all showing the same expression of shocked disbelief. The most advanced military force in the galaxy was being defeated by beings who still used chemical explosives and kinetic weapons. "Granted," she said quietly. "Signal all ships to withdraw to safe distance. We need to reassess everything we thought we knew about these humans." But even as the Confederation fleet began its retreat, Admiral Chen's voice came through their communication systems one final time. "Confederation fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. You came here to demonstrate your superiority. Instead, you have demonstrated that technology alone does not win wars. Retreat if you must, but remember this lesson. Humanity will not be intimidated, conquered, or controlled. We fight for our freedom, and we are very good at it." The retreat became a running battle as human ships harassed the alien fleet all the way to the edge of human space, teaching them one final lesson about what it meant to fight an enemy that never gave up. The final phase of the battle began as the Confederation fleet tried to retreat from human space. Admiral Zixathera had ordered a general withdrawal, but the humans were not content to simply let their attackers leave. Human ships pursued the alien fleet, striking at damaged vessels and preventing any organized escape. Commander Threx coordinated the retreat from his battle station, trying to maintain some semblance of military order as his forces fell back. But the humans had turned even retreat into a nightmare. Every time alien ships grouped together for mutual protection, human forces appeared to break up the formations and scatter them again. "Admiral," Threx reported, "the humans are not allowing us to disengage. They are pursuing our damaged vessels and forcing continued combat." Admiral Zixathera felt a combination of fear and growing respect for these impossible beings. Even in victory, the humans were demonstrating tactical skills that surpassed anything in Confederation experience. They were not just winning the battle, they were controlling every aspect of it. But then something unexpected happened. A badly damaged Confederation cruiser, its engines failing and life support systems offline, found itself surrounded by human vessels. The alien crew prepared for destruction, knowing they could not fight back or escape. Instead of finishing off the helpless ship, the human vessels took defensive positions around it. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system, speaking directly to the trapped alien crew. "Confederation vessel, this is Admiral Chen. Your ship is severely damaged and your crew is in danger. We are prepared to offer assistance. Do you require medical aid or emergency repairs?" On the alien bridge, Communications Officer Thelvan stared at his equipment in disbelief. "Admiral, the humans are offering to help us. After everything that has happened, they want to provide aid to our damaged ships." Admiral Zixathara felt her understanding of these beings shift once again. The humans had demonstrated superior tactics, adaptability, and fighting spirit. Now they were showing something even more remarkable: mercy combined with overwhelming superiority. "Accept their assistance," she ordered, "and try to understand what kind of species we are dealing with." Across the battlefield, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships escorted damaged alien vessels to safe distances, provided medical supplies to wounded crews, and even shared technical data about structural weaknesses they had discovered during the fighting. They were treating their defeated enemies with a combination of professional respect and genuine concern for their welfare. Dr. Zextree monitored these interactions with fascination. "Admiral, the human behavior patterns are unlike anything in our records. They appear to view this entire conflict as a professional disagreement rather than a personal conflict. They show no hatred or desire for revenge." The truth was that human military culture had evolved to separate warfare from personal animosity. Humans could fight with desperate intensity, while still respecting their opponents as fellow warriors. The concept of honor in battle included treating defeated enemies with dignity. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system again, this time addressing the entire Confederation fleet. "Confederation commanders, you came to our space with the intention of forcing us to submit to your authority. You believed that your advanced technology and superior numbers would make resistance impossible." Admiral Zixathera listened carefully, trying to understand the message these humans were sending. "You made several mistakes," Chen continued. "First, you assumed that older technology means weaker capability. Our weapons may be simpler than yours, but they are also more reliable and harder to counter. Second, you assumed that a younger species would be less capable in warfare, but humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We have learned lessons about combat that your peaceful civilizations never needed to learn." The human admiral paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "Most importantly, you assumed that we would surrender when faced with superior force. But humans do not surrender when we are defending our homes and our freedom. We fight harder when the odds are against us. We become more dangerous when we are cornered. And we never ever give up." Commander Threx found himself nodding despite the situation. These humans had demonstrated exactly those qualities during the battle. Every tactical disadvantage had been turned into an opportunity. Every setback had been met with innovation and determination. However, Admiral Chen's voice continued, "We do not fight for the joy of destruction. We fight to protect what is ours and to earn the respect of those who would threaten us. You have seen what happens when humanity is forced to defend itself. Now you have a choice about what happens next." Admiral Zixathara realized that the humans were offering the Confederation a way to end this conflict with dignity and tact. Despite their overwhelming victory, They were not demanding unconditional surrender or seeking to humiliate their defeated opponents. "We propose an immediate ceasefire," Chen announced. "Confederation forces will withdraw from human space, and we will provide assistance to your damaged vessels. In return, we request formal diplomatic contact between our species. It is time for humanity to take its place in galactic civilization, but we will do so as equals, not as subjects." The offer was more generous than Admiral Zix had dared to hope for. The humans could have demanded tribute, territory, or technology as the price of peace. Instead, they were asking only for recognition and respect. "Admiral," Commander Threx said quietly, "I recommend we accept their terms. These humans have proven they cannot be conquered by force. It would be better to have them as allies than as enemies." Admiral Zix knew he was right. The Confederation had learned something important today about the galaxy they thought they controlled. There were species out there that could not be intimidated, conquered, or forced into submission. Humanity was such a species, and trying to dominate them would only lead to more conflicts that the Confederation might not win. "Send a response," she ordered. "Accept the ceasefire and request formal diplomatic negotiations." As the immediate crisis ended, Admiral Zix began composing her report to the Confederation Council. It would be the most important document she had ever written, because it would reshape how the galaxy's oldest civilizations viewed newcomers to interstellar space. "Emergency report to Confederation Council," she began. "Recommendation: immediate reclassification of species designation human from primitive observable to apex military capability diplomatic priority. These beings represent something we have never encountered before, a species that treats warfare as both science and art, that finds strength in adversity, and that achieves victory through controlled chaos." She paused, considering how to explain what she had witnessed. Human military doctrine appears to be based on individual initiative operating within overall strategic goals. This allows them to adapt to changing circumstances faster than any coordination system we have previously observed. Their technology, while simpler than ours, is also more robust and harder to counter. Most importantly, their psychological makeup makes them essentially unconquerable through force. The report continued with detailed analysis of human tactics, technology, and behavior. But the conclusion was simple. Humanity had announced its arrival on the galactic stage as a force that would forever change the balance of power among the stars. Several hours later, a transmission was broadcast from Earth to every inhabited system in the galaxy. Admiral Chen's voice carried a message that would be remembered for centuries. "To all species within range of this communication, this is Admiral Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Defense Command and all of humanity. Today we made first contact with the Galactic Confederation. The meeting did not go as either side expected." The transmission continued with a calm, professional tone that somehow made the message even more impressive. "Humanity is now open for diplomatic contact with all galactic civilizations. We are explorers, scientists, engineers, and traders. We seek knowledge, friendship, and mutual benefit through peaceful cooperation. We are also warriors when the situation requires it. As the Confederation has learned today, we do not seek conflict, but we will not avoid it when our freedom is threatened." The final words would become famous throughout the galaxy. "To those who would approach us in peace, you will find no better friends. To those who would approach us as conquerors, you will find no more determined enemies. Choose wisely how you wish to meet humanity. We are ready for either possibility. The galaxy would never be the same."